Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Cooley. I'm the Targeted Outreach Director for the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. It's a long name. We just go by the DFPI. Thank you and welcome to the webinar. We're going to get started very soon. It's right at noon. It is hot out there, so please make sure to stay cool. Again, it's just right at noon, so I'm going to give everyone another, let's say, 2 minutes before we get started. Okay. So we'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay. It's been 2 minutes. I'm seeing a lot of people still jumping in, but let's go ahead and get started. This is going to be a very packed webinar with a lot of great information. Again, hello everyone. My name is Cooley. I am the Targeted Outreach Director for the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, also known as the DFPI. For this financial education webinar, it is how to invest wisely. Let's jump right into it. So first, a little bit of housekeeping here. Your cameras and microphones have been turned off, but if you do have any questions, please submit it into the Zoom's Q&A feature. We have a dedicated 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes at the very end of this webinar to answer any questions you have. There's also questions that were submitted during the registration process, so I'll get to as many as I can as well. The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the presenter. They do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the DFPI. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. This is not financial advice and does not replace independent or professional judgment. Basically, we're really big advocates of individuals doing their own research, right? And by being here, that's what you're doing. So thank you. The DFPI does not assume responsibility for the completeness of this information presented in this presentation. For more information, you could always visit our website, dfpi.ca.gov. You can also email my outreach team at outreach@dfpi.ca.gov. All right. Disclaimer aside, let's talk just briefly about who the DFPI is. Who are we? What do we do? Well, our central purpose is to maintain a fair, healthy, and trusted financial marketplace for all Californians. We accomplish this through regulation and enforcement of a variety of financial services, laws, products, professionals. And the other thing that a lot of people don't know we do is we provide free presentations throughout California. So we try to bring awareness, try to inform consumers, and prevent them from falling prey to frauds and scams. So a presentation just like this. If you want more information about the kind of work we do for consumers, there's a link right there, dfpi.ca.gov/consumers. All right, let's jump right into it. Already getting some questions, so great. I do want to throw a reminder out there that yes, this webinar is being recorded. We will be publishing it to our YouTube channel. And the slides after this webinar, I'll be sending everyone who registered a follow-up email, and you'll receive a copy of the slides as well as a link to the webinar recording. So thank you for registering. Okay, so what is investing wisely, right? In the most plain terms as I could find it, it's investing with a purpose. You use research, you use priorities and a strategy to focus your investing efforts to achieve your long-term financial goals. You're going to hear that a lot, long-term financial goals. Um, we're not trying to, this is not a get rich quickly scheme, right? And in fact, one of my friends from the army says it's a get rich slow scheme. Sure to get rich, but it's a slow process. Basically, investing wisely is being a smart investor. And being a smart investor means that you're going to do things like be able to identify and avoid investment frauds and scams. You're going to be intentional about your investing decisions. You're going to understand the different investment fees, taxes, and risks that are involved. You can also cut out a lot of unnecessary stress about the different market conditions. Again, being a smart investor, understanding conditions and risks, you could cut out a lot of that stress. And then you can always adapt to, changing market conditions, right? Again, being a smart, intelligent, a wise investor, you'll understand that market conditions aren't always the same, and you could always adapt to those changing conditions. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the steps. Again, this is kind of for educational purposes only. You can take whatever steps you think is necessary to invest wisely, right? I'm just putting this together more for informational purposes, and hopefully it can help guide you if you use this kind of outline, right? So first things first, you want to ask some questions before you get started investing. You're gonna need a budget, right? How much can I afford to invest? Then you want to determine your investing priorities. Well, there's a whole slide on that. We're going to dive deeper. Um, Set investment goals. So important, right? It's not just throwing money into the market and hopefully it grows. You need to have goals set and then try to achieve those financial investment goals. Um, do your research. So important. We're going to talk a lot more about that. Uh, Use the DFPI's new investment center. We literally just launched it last week. It's got a lot of great information. I'm going to give you a quick tour about it and show how you can use it to help you on your investment journey. And of course, know all the different investment red flags, right? You want to protect yourself from investment frauds and scams. And finally, learn more about getting help, right? Where to get help, who to go to. Okay, questions about questions to ask before you get started in investing, or even if you already invested, maybe you should ask these questions again, right? So number one, should I be investing now? This is a very common question I get in all the different workshops I do or presentations I have. Individuals who come up to me who want to learn more about how can I get start investing. The first thing I ask them is, hey, should you be investing? Do you have housing and living expenses that should be a priority, right? Do you have any high interest debt that you should pay off first, right? An example is I was talking to a consumer. He was telling me that he had like a $15,000 car loan, and the interest rate was something like 7-8%. And he wanted to start investing. And I told him, to be honest, if you actually paid off your car debt first at 7 to 8% interest, you're almost making as much as you would in the market, right? So, I was letting him just informing him about his different options. Some credit card debt right now is like 20-25% interest. So it's a lot more, it may be a little more intelligent, right? Again, trying to be that smart, wise investor to instead of invest, pay off that credit card debt, especially if it has really high interest rates. Okay. Next. How much can I afford to lose, right? It's a great question you should need to ask yourself. Investing, all investments have some level of risk. So how much can you invest? How much can you afford to lose or risk? What are my long-term investment goals? We're going to talk a little more about that. And what are my investment priorities, right? And when we talk about investment priorities, again, I have a whole nother slide talking about this, but it's essentially what do I want to prioritize? Because these things happen. As you go through life, as you go through your investing journey, a lot of different priorities are going to shift, and you want to know what those priorities are and know which one's the most important. Okay, budgeting, so important. How much can you invest? How much should you invest, right? Number one, always prioritize your living expenses, right? So housing, utilities, food, transportation, insurance, if you have it. Expenses and debt, you want to prioritize paying that first. And this is something that a lot of people don't think about, but you really want to have an emergency fund in place. Because if you don't, something that I see a lot of is consumers take money out of their investments so that they can pay for an emergency, right? Maybe there's a medical emergency. Maybe you have to fly across the country for a family member, or maybe you have all your tires just blown out, brand new, you need new tires. If you take money out of your investments, there are some tax implications that might hurt you later on, right? So if you have an emergency fund in place, you don't have to touch your investments, which are growing, right? Um, you know what? With a budget, you can figure out what expenses and what debt that you can cut and pay off, so that again you can put more into your investments. And finally, this is a little obvious, but I always tell everyone only invest any leftover funds, right? After you do your budget, it should be your very last line item, and only invest any kind of leftover funds that you can afford. Don't cut money out of your housing, your utilities, your food, um, because that's going to hurt you later on, right? And so here's kind of a sample budget. I want to just quickly go over it. So this is again sample budget, may not reflect your situation or your area. Let's say you're making $5,000 a month. Your rent is $2,000 a month. By the way, this is for a single person. I'm sure families' budgets are completely different. You have $300 utilities, food, transportation, loans, expenses. I put in a $400 emergency fund here to build that up. And I even added a home down payment savings. So in this budget, I'm saving $500 a month for a down payment. And that leaves me $300 left to invest, right? It's your very last line item. And $300 might not sound a lot, but it builds up over time, especially with good interest and good investments. On top of that, you could take a look at these loans and debt. That's $500. If you paid off your loans and debt, that's $500 that you could put towards your investing, right? As soon as you get a strong enough emergency fund, this is $400 that you could put towards your investing, right? If you have a house already, and your down payment savings gets rolled into your rent, right? That's additional money that you can put into investing. So what I'm trying to tell you here, right, is budget what you can invest, right? And prioritize what's important here. Okay, enough about this. Um, let's talk about investment priorities, okay? How much time and effort do you have to manage your investments? It's a big question. Actually, it's a question most people don't think about, right? Some people think about, I'm just going to put money in the stock market and let it go. Other people want to buy real estate, not knowing how much work real estate, managing tenants, it's a lot of work. So depending on the investment, it may require a lot of like hands-on maintenance, or it may not, right? Especially if you're working with like an investment firm that they do a lot of the work for you. You might just want to check in once a year to check on your investment progress, performance. But if again you want to get into like real estate investing, that may require a lot of research and management on your part. So again, what is your priorities here? How much time do you have to put into your investments, and managing your investments? How fast do you want your investments to mature or start giving you returns, right? Some investments, right? Some stock market stocks have immediate dividends. Others give you dividends at the end of the year, right? Others give you dividends quarterly. Some of them you're just hoping for the stock to grow in value, and then at some time you're going to cash in all that value. So again, how fast do you want your investments to mature or provide returns, right? This is a really great question for anyone who's looking at CDs or certificate deposits. They have a very clear interest rate and a very clear maturity date. So you know when your CD is going to mature and you could withdraw that money. So great question, great priority to make sure you're aware of. When do you want when you plan to withdraw from or use your investments, right? So again, depending on your investment goals, Maybe you're investing to retire, right? That might be your investment goal. So you're letting it grow over time. I'm not going to touch it, and I'm planning to withdraw from it after I retire. That's great. That's a great priority, right? Or maybe you're thinking about I'm putting money into a high yield savings or maybe a CD so that it could build a little bit of interest while I save up to use it to as a down payment on a house, right? What is that priority for you? When do you plan to cash in your investments? And then, of course, how much investment risk are you willing to accept, right? How much money can you afford to lose? Because again, regardless of the investment, every single investment has a risk. And anybody who tells you otherwise is obviously trying to sell you probably some fraud or scam. Uh, every investment has some kind of risk. So, what kind of risk can you accept, right? Okay, let's talk about investment goals. And what I mean investment goals is I mean long term. Back to that long term investment goals. Smart, wise investors are long term investors, right? And you know your let's talk about investment goals. We're talking about retirement planning, right? One of your goals might be to invest to have a nest egg when you retire. You might be trying to grow your personal wealth, right? You have extra money set aside, but you don't want to put it in a savings account. You could put it into whatever the investments to help it grow faster. You want to build wealth and you want to pass it on to your next generation, right? Your beneficiaries. It's a great investment goal. You want to create additional income streams. So that's like getting dividends that you could withdraw from. Maybe if you're investing in real estate, you're thinking about generating rental income for you, right? Um, that could be what investment goal. Maybe you want to support a business or cause, right? Maybe you want to invest in a company or an organization, right? Based on what they're doing. It's a brand new technology. You want to invest in that. Maybe it is a cause that is something, a purpose that they're doing, and you love what they're doing, so you want to invest in their cause. So that's a great thing to do as well, right? None of these are all I want to say there's plenty of different investment goals out there. I do encourage you to find and set your investment goal, right? And set the one that's best for you. Also, you could always combine these, right? They're not exclusive to each other. You can do retirement planning while also planning to pass on that wealth to your beneficiaries, right? So it's not exclusive. You can combine these goals, but I will say you may want to prioritize one over the other, depending on the different type of investments out there. All right, doing your research. So I do want to open this by sharing a couple of different quotes by Warren Buffett. If you don't know who he is, he's a multi-billionaire investor. Very wise though. Number one, never invest in a business you cannot understand. Very, very so true, right? If you don't know what kind of business or what they're doing or how they're creating income, maybe you don't know where the business is, right? Maybe it's a overseas business that is offering an investment. If you don't understand it, if you don't know what they're doing, probably not a good idea to get in it. Here's another one from Warren Buffett. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So absolutely correct here. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't really understand all the different risks that you might be getting involved in, right? So this is a lot. I don't want to read these verbatim, but I do want to highlight some of these bullet points, right? So things to know about your investments, right? Let's talk about, again, associated risk and returns. You want to definitely know your investments risk and returns. You also want to know things like investment terms and conditions. And this is an example would be like a CD, right? A certificate deposit matures at a certain time. If you don't withdraw from that or close out a certificate deposit, oftentimes they roll over and start a whole new term. So be very aware of all the different terms and conditions affiliated with an investment. What kind of tax implications, right? That the investment has. So things like capital gains tax, or maybe if you're withdrawing dividends, you get taxed on dividends yearly as income. So you got to know that kind of stuff. Fees. I get this question a lot, right? What are the fees associated with this investment. So whether it's owning the investment, whether it's buying the investment, whether it's using a brokerage to manage the investment for you, what are the fees, right? So these are a lot of great questions. There's obviously a lot more questions, but this is kind of a way to get you started. Okay, another slide. Let's talk a little more about doing your own research. You want to always check before you invest, and we've compiled. This is a link. You're going to have this in the slides. You could click on it. It goes to a 2-page PDF. You can print it out, fill it out. It's basically you want to check before you start investing. So there are things like, is the investment registered? Who's the investment registered with? And it's got a lot of different resources there. The other thing you could do is check the SEC. That's the Securities and Exchange Commission. They have a database which you can check on investments, investment brokers, see if there's any kind of enforcement actions against it. You also want to use legitimate investment resources. So that's things like the SEC's investor.gov website, fantastic website, super informative, like really dense, a lot of great information. I feel like it's a little bit too dense, but definitely check it out. The other thing you could check out is the FDIC, right? The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation's Money Smart program. It's a great program if you want to get more information, not just about investing, but things like how to budget, how to pay off debt, that kind of thing. Great resource there. And then finally, the DFPI's Investor Center. Again, we just launched it, and I'm going to give you a quick tour of it here in the next slide. I'm going to show you all the different information about it. But again, do your research as you are starting or even deep into your investment journey, right? Smart investors, wise investors, always do their research before they take their hard-earned money and put it into investment products, right? Okay, so let's talk a little about the Investor Center. Here's a link to it. It's dfpi.ca.gov/investors. I am going to give me 1 second here. Let me share my screen so that I can show you the website and give you a quick tour of it. So share screen. Let's do this. All right. So this is the DFPI's Investor Center. Again, newly launched. We spent a lot of time, energy on this. By the way, it was funded by a grant from the Investor Protection Trust. Thank you, IPT. We compiled a lot of great information, different ways you could use this site. So we have essentially 4 pages. We have this landing page. Again, a lot of fast, quick information you can get a hold of. By the way, this is our little slider that shows you the different events and news that's happening. We have a little menu here where you can look at the different pages, right? This page is dedicated towards nonprofits, licensees, educators, community-based organizations, a lot of information to help your community learn to get started investing. We want to help evangelize you to use the Investor Center, and our resources to help, again, educate your community. Investing 101 is a page dedicated towards consumers, consumer investors, right? Maybe you're starting your investment journey. Maybe you're already a veteran investor, right? Still a great place to check out a lot of information. We're going to go quickly into that here in a second. And then we have a resources page, which has a lot of different tools, booklets, things that you can download and share, calculator. So again, a lot of really, really fast links, easy to click on here. I do want to highlight one thing. We spent a lot of money to give you free, no-cost financial education. You can just click on this link. All you need to do is register. It is a platform that has a lot of different financial education courses, all online. You could access it on your phone, tablet, computer. When you register and take courses, these financial education courses, it saves your progress. So maybe you're in the middle of a course, but you got to leave. That's okay. Close out. You can always come back in. It saves your progress. A lot of fantastic financial education courses on not just investing, but things like budgeting, building credit, protecting yourself from fraud. So check it out. It is, again, free online for you to use, for anyone to use. Register and get started. Okay. I'm going to talk really briefly about the Educating Your Community page. So again, we have this slider talking about the different webinars that are happening. Again, this page is dedicated towards the nonprofits, community-based organizations, licensees, investment professionals, to help inform, to help better educate their communities, their clients, their stakeholders about investing, right? So we have things like information for CalFORD consumers that takes to our consumer webpage. Again, we have our free online education. A link to California investor rights and laws, a link to our red flags, right? To look at the different investment red flags that are out there. We talked about financial goals in our slides, but you can read about them here. You can share them with individuals. And then, of course, a place to go to our order site where you can order print materials to share with the community. And then, of course, a link where you can submit a complaint. Okay, let's talk just quickly about the investor page. So this one is more dedicated towards consumers, the general public. And again, this is where some quick links to submit a complaint if you observe some kind of investment fraud or been a victim of a scam, of investment scam or fraud. You can always submit a complaint to us. Here's a link to verify investor advisor information. You can also search the DFPI's enforcement record just to double check to make sure your investment advisor or broker doesn't have any legal actions against them. Here we talk about investment goals again, right? Understanding some terms and conditions. So we have a page dedicated to all the different terms, conditions, things that you might see, the jargon, vocabulary out there. We have a page dedicated to the different type of investment products. So check that out if you can. And some more resources. When you have the time, check it out. Definitely check out our investment fraud, scams, and risk page. A lot of information there. And then finally, I do want to talk quickly about the resource page. So this one is a place where you can download these different booklets, right? These booklets were provided to us by the Investor Protection Trust. This is our booklet, our Protect Yourself from Fraud booklet. Incredibly popular, very comprehensive, talks about all the different frauds and scams out there, how to protect yourself, resources for what you can do if you become a victim of fraud and scams. Some presentations. Again, here's the no-cost financial education link. Going on, we have some videos. Here's a webinar from last year about safe and successful investment strategies. Check that out. I know it's a 1-hour webinar, but it's a lot of fantastic information. Has almost 200 views on YouTube. We have an investment quiz from the SEC. It's really great. And a compound interest calculator. I definitely want you to check that out if you can. Kind of gives you an idea of how much you can save over time if you start investing now, or if you've already started investing, and what kind of things you can expect. Okay. With that, that's the Investor Center. Again, just a very high level overview tour of the investments. I wanted just to make sure that you were aware of it. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to the presentation. Here it is. Okay. Share screen. I apologize. Okay, here we go. All right, so we did a tour of the DFPI's Investor Center. Again, just a reminder, if you do have any questions or comments, please put it into the Zoom's Q&A feature. More than happy to answer those questions. We have a dedicated time at the very end to do that. Continuing on. All right, let's talk about some investment red flags, okay? Promises of high rate return or no risk. Again, we talked about every investment has a risk. And if someone's promising me that it doesn't, that's a huge red flag. Also, if they're telling you that your investment will double, triple, 10 times, that is a huge red flag, and you should definitely do a lot more research to find out what's going on there. The claims of consistent returns over many years, right? As you know, the markets go up and down, so investments go up and down. And if someone is claiming that investment has many, many years of consistent returns, you want to definitely investigate that a little more. This is a big one here: pressure to act immediately, pressure to invest, and pressure to buy immediately. Someone saying this is a limited time deal, that is definitely a red flag. Again, they're trying to get you they're trying to leverage FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, to get you to bypass all of your red flags. So that's definitely something you should look out for. Insistence on silence or secrecy, right? Especially if someone is trying to sell you an investment, but not let you share it, not let you talk about it with your friends, family, financial advisors. That's definitely a big red flag. Lack of contact information or transparency. Another big red flag here. If you can't find the contact information on their website or their social media or anything like that, that's definitely a red flag. Errors or inconsistencies in their offering documents, right? Many investment products have documents for it. And if there are errors and inconsistencies, that's always kind of a big red flag. Claims of exemption, a history of problems, right? If you look at the history of the investment, if you look at the history of the investment broker or advisor or the brokerage, if they have a history of issues, that's always a red flag. Negative reputation or testimonials. So that goes for advisors, investments. If they has a negative reputation or testimonials based on it, that's a huge red flag. Here's another one: request for more money, right? So if you went ahead and put some money into an investment, and the investment advisor or someone trying to sell you the investment is asking you for more money, that's a big red flag. And of course, always a lack of paperwork, right? No contracts, no signatures, nothing that shows that the investment actually exists. That's definitely a red flag. Okay, let's talk about getting some more help. So if you need more help, right, consider using a licensed investment broker or advisor. You could check the SEC's Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website. There's a link to it. To check on an investment broker. I definitely recommend looking around. Don't go to the first one. Even the brokerage, don't go to just the first brokerage. Shop around. This is your money and you're going to be investing it for the long term. Shop around, right? Don't just go to the first investment advisor you talk to. Because if you talk to more investment advisors, they all have different perspectives and different work ethic and different priorities. So shop around, get one that's going to work for you. You can also use FINRA's broker check, right? It's their website. They have a database of different brokers. Make sure that they're licensed there. And then you could always check the DFPI's enforcement records. So we keep on our website, free for anyone to check and search, a list of the different enforcement actions that we have levied against violators. Violators of financial laws or that kind of nature. So there's a link to it. Always feel free to go check it, especially if you're going to start doing business or start investing with an investment advisor. Okay. And finally, if you become a victim, if you become a victim, if you know someone who's been a victim of a financial fraud or scam, investment fraud scam, have them submit a complaint to us, right? The DFPI cannot protect consumers. We cannot protect investors. We can't protect you if you don't submit a complaint and let us know what happens, right? And that's our job. We're here to protect California's financial marketplace, making sure it's fair and equitable for people to use. All right, Q&A time. I have some questions that are submitted. Please, again, as a reminder, if you do have any questions, please submit it into the Zoom's Q&A feature. I will get to the live questions first. And if we have time left, I have a number of different questions that were submitted to me during the registration process. So first question, will we have access to the slides after the presentation? Answer is yes. I will be sending up a follow-up email with a link to this webinar recording, as well as a copy of the slides. So good question, thank you. Question from Freddie. I'd love to learn more about how we can leverage the DFPI for financial literacy education workshops for our self-sufficiency program, SmartPoint. Hey, I love it. I'm all about it. And Freddie, get with me after, okay? When I send you the follow-up email, just reply back, let's partner. I'm all about building partnerships. promoting financial literacy, promoting financial education, helping individuals with their economic mobility. I'm all about. Let's do it, right? This is my cause and my purpose. I'm down. Let's go. Uh, Great question. Thank you for it. Let's get to some submitted questions. This is always a good one. You know what? I get this one a lot. Should I invest or save up to buy a house? Super good question. Again, this is not financial advice. This is more of just education and information. Um, should you invest or should you buy a house first? Well, I think it depends on your personal situation. Thank you for the question. I think it depends on your personal situation. Um, what I will say, I'll give you some information and then you can decide on what makes sense, right? Number one, almost everyone, regardless of where they live, what demographic, almost everyone in your budget, and I know this because I've done a lot of budget workshops and I see this all the time. The largest line item, the largest expense that people have in their budget consistently is housing. So it could be renting, it could be a mortgage, it could be leasing of some sort, right? Almost always it's housing. And so what I would say is uh, it makes a lot of sense that you may want to focus on housing first, right? Getting your housing situation settled, whether it's buying a house, getting a fixed rate so you know for the next 30 years that my rent's not going to go up, right? That my mortgage is not going to go higher than I can afford, basically. So, yeah, should you invest or buy a house? You can do both. You really could do both. You could buy a house and then after you, again, we did that budget, you could change a lot of that. And so now you have a line item for mortgage and whatever's left at the end of the day could go to your investing, right? Um, or you could prioritize investing. That's possible too. I'd say it depends on what your financial goals for the future are. But really good question. I get that question a lot. Um, Great question, Amanda just came in. Is there an internal Teams channel for these educations? So is there a Teams channel for this education? On our YouTube channel, we have a lot of our webinars just like this recorded. You are more than welcome to go watch those financial education webinars. Share them. We love for you to share them. Get other people. Also, we could always develop any kind of internal Teams channel if you want. So, great question, Amanda. Please get with me. Right? Just email me. All about partnering. All about pushing for financial literacy, financial education. So, thank you. Okay. Um, where's a good place to start investing for first timers? You know what? I'm going to answer. It's a great question, by the way, and I get that a lot. Um, I'm going to lump it with another question that was submitted to us during registration. Should I put money into my 401k? So, two questions here. Should I just put money into my 401k? And where's a good place to start investing for first timers? So, again, not financial advice here, but I would say look, if your employer has some kind of match for investing, right? So, again, 401k is the most popular one. If you're at a nonprofit, it could be 457, I believe. I think there's another one out there. Look into that because you're getting a guaranteed return on your money. When you put money into like your 401k, if you're getting a match, again, not all employers match, but if you're putting money into there, sometimes they match. And that might be the best place to start, right? Putting money into something that's offered to you. Oftentimes, these 401k plans, the fees to administer it, the fees to run it are covered by the employer. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's very, very discounted fee, but take advantage of that, right? Especially if you've never started investing before, look into it. Talk to your human resources and say, hey, I'm interested in getting into my your retirement funding, right? Retirement, so 401k, 457, all the different things they have out there. And what are the benefits here, right? How much is it going to cost me for fees? And then, of course, is there a match? Because that's an easy place to get started. And then, of course, asking asking the question, should I just put money into my 401k? You can just put money into your 401k. I would say it depends on your financial goals. Some investment goals too. Some people, there's a limit, I'll put it that way, to how much money you could put into your 401k yearly. Uh, and you could actually open up outside investment accounts. So a Roth IRA, traditional Roth IRA, you could put more money into investments, and there are limits, of course, how much you can put in there for tax purposes. You get a lot of tax benefits out of there. So again, I would say do some more research into there, but your 401k is a great place to start. So fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking that. Um, what kind of investment fees are there? So again, I could probably go on for like an hour talking about the different types of investment fees. I'm going to hit a high level and just say many times when you are either buying an investment, there's a fee associated with that transaction. Oops, sorry. There's a fee that is associated with the transaction. And sometimes there are like brokerage fees or fees to maintain an account or fees based on how much your account makes for at the end of the year, right? Like a return account. It depends on the type of investment. And then of course there are also like there are certain tax, well, there are definitely tax issues with fees, so I don't want to get to that. Um, but what I would just recommend is you do a lot more research, right? I think it's just a lot, it's very complex, and it's better to just understand all the different fees associated with an investment. But it's a great question. You're asking the right questions to get started, because you don't want to get into something and find out that there's like a 10% management fee and that's eating into your investments, right? So great question. How often should I check my investments for their performance? Uh, that's a great question. Again, completely up to you and what type of investment it is as well. I would say at least once a year. At least once a year. You could do it quarterly. You could do it weekly. It depends on if you have like an investment broker and an advisor. You might tell them to give you a monthly report or send you a yearly report. But I'd say don't just put money into an investment and just hope it goes well, right? I definitely think you should review your investments at least once a year. Could be at the end of the year, could be at the beginning of the year, right? Whenever is the most convenient for you to take the time to check out your investments. And the other reason to check your investments, especially not just for performances, if you're using like a brokerage or some investment advisor, they may change their fee structure, right? They may change how much they're charging you to manage your account. So you want to be aware of that, right? Again, that's what the yearly review is. I'm looking at how my stocks are doing or how my investments are doing. And then of course uh, how it's being managed, and if there's any kind of changes in the agreement between my brokerage, and then maybe I should make a change, right? Maybe some things that were performing great aren't performing that great again. You could always make those changes. Okay. All right. Um, let's answer a couple more questions here. As a reminder, you're always free to put it into the Q&A. What to do if I've been a victim of an investment scam? Great question. And I do get this a lot when I go do my presentations. So if you've been a victim of an investment scam, probably the first thing you should do is submit a complaint to the DFPI, right? Let me go back one page. You want to submit a complaint to the DFPI. So we can find out about what happened. And submitting a complaint, it's a long form, but it's detailed because we need to know all the information to look into it, right? We're going to ask for receipts and contracts and email correspondence and anything that you might have, because again, it's going to help us during our investigation into the fraud or scam. So if you've been a victim of an investment scam or fraud, or any kind of financial issues, you can submit a complaint to us, and we will definitely review it. And most importantly, review it so that we can stop it, right? Hopefully we can, if there's an investment broker out there selling an unlicensed security of some sort, we could stop it so that other victims won't, there won't be other victims, right? Um, okay, I'm going to answer one more question. A lot of great information here. What are some common investing mistakes that new investors make? Uh, you know what? This whole presentation, investing wisely, being a smart investor, we talk about a lot of different information, educational pieces that you should, not only are you, that you should know, but questions that you should ask. And a lot of new investors, especially if you've never done this before, don't know to ask the right questions, right? So we're talking about things like setting an investment goal, and then setting priorities, understanding your investment priorities, asking the right investment questions, making sure investment brokers, advisors are licensed. And so there's a lot of things, and I would say it's not just one thing. Common investing mistakes, like I said, the most common mistake is just investing without knowing more, right? Just putting money into market and hoping, putting money into the market, just buying an investment and just hoping it does well, right? Not doing any research. I would say that is the most common mistake new investors make. So doing your research, being on this webinar is a great way to get started. Okay, looks like we're all out of questions. With that, I do want to do a quick wrap up, just some housekeeping. So for any nonprofits, community-based organizations, financial providers, financial professionals, we have two webinars coming up, one next week, one in 2 weeks. It's the Empower Your Community with the DFPI's Investor Center webinar. It's actually going to be a quick 30-minute webinar. We're going to dive deeper into the DFPI's Investor Center. We're going to talk about the different resources. We're going to show you some of the tools that you could use, and honestly, just have a conversation about how to help your community start investing. So if you're interested, we have 2 different webinars happening. Please register for those. We also have a webinar happening at the end of this month, June 28th. It's Building Generational Wealth with Investing. Please register for that. We're going to talk about how you can build wealth and then transfer it on to your beneficiaries, right? Could be your children, could be grandkids, could also be a foundation that you want to start, right? I'm going to get some subject matter experts together and have that conversation. So be sure to register for that. Also, please subscribe to our newsletter. I know many of you are here because you saw this event in the newsletter, so thank you. But if you have not subscribed to our newsletter, please do so. Our newsletter has a lot of really great information. It highlights these different financial education events and webinars that we host, that we are part of every month. And then if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, right, check it out. We got a lot of great other financial education webinars and videos out there. So subscribe to it. Check out all our other videos. With that, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And look out for my follow-up email. And please, it's hot out there for many of you. I'm in Fresno, so we're under a heat wave advisory. Stay cool and take care of yourselves, and please take care of each other. Thank you so much. Have a great day.